I call the Senate Committee on Local Government Elections and Pensions to order. Matt, would you please call the roll?
Senators Black.
Here.
Henderson. Here. Beck. Here. Bratton. Berger. Here. Crawford. Here. Nicola. Here. Nuremberg. Here. You have a quorum.
We have a quorum, so we will begin, and everybody knows that we're normally pressed for time in most of these committee meetings, and honestly, when I walked through the door, I didn't expect to see 5 people in here other than us. So obviously we have some things to talk about, and I told Senator Hough I would hurry, try to talk a little faster in North Missouri as normal, but this being the first committee meeting of the day, and some of you know me, some of you don't, I will try to get things done on time. We should always be able to get out of here, I don't know, probably around 3:30 in normal conditions, 3:35. Normally we can get all the business done that I schedule through the office. If we as senators and those people in the audience testifying stay on task and don't start telling about when you played basketball and all those kind of things as well. Maybe one good story will be enough. Tell your other 4 or 5 stories in the senator's office. And senators, I ask the same of you as well. So what I'm going to do when we start testimony, I will see how many people in favor, how many opposed. Then I'll make a decision at that time whether we're going to go back and forth or not. I prefer to do all positive, all negative, all informational purposes. And I'll decide whether we have time limit. We'll probably start at about 3 minutes when we need it, but I don't think we're going to need that today. So with that, Senator Hough, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senator Lincoln Hough, representing the 30th Senatorial District, the good folks of the city of Springfield. For your consideration, I appreciate the time of the committee this afternoon. For your consideration, Senate Bill number 10. So this is a design build piece of legislation. Those of you that were in the House and or in the Senate, we've actually passed this 2 different times in the last handful of years. Largely clerical cleanups on the second page of this bill. We're just dropping an S from subdivisions and making it subdivision. Page 7, we're changing a may to a shall, which normally would be a fairly consequential change. It's not in this case. All that does is says that the design build contractor shall only initiate a change in a contract with the approval of the political subdivision that they're working with. So essentially they have to have the community that they're working with would sign off on that change. And then the real change in this is on the last page where we are removing the sunset. I think if anyone remembers when this kind of first initiated, we put a sunset on there just to make sure it was going to work, the way that everyone thought that it was going to. As it turns out, I think probably what you're going to hear from a bunch of the testimony after me is that it has been working very well across the state, and we'd just like to continue it and not have that kind of overshadowing some of these projects. So, happy to answer any questions from the committee. Mr. Chairman, thanks for the brevity of your comments earlier.
Thank you, Senators. Anybody have any questions of the Senator at this time? Senator Beck.
It's just a comment. I really like that you put the shall in there because I was on a school board and we had that ability to be able to make sure that whoever bid the contract stayed in the contract.
Yep. Thanks, Senator.
Any other Senator, any questions at this time? None. How many people in the audience testify in favor? Please raise your hand. Ooh, baby. Anybody in here testify opposed?
Was it more than one?
Well, I think we're just going to rotate in favor all the way through. All right. First up, let's roll. Oh, look at that. A real professional has their little sheet that says they're going to testify today. Make sure all of us turn those in whenever we come up. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Susan Henderson Moore here on behalf of J.E. Dunn. I think I'm up here first because neither of us had gray hair the first time we passed this.
Probably
So we obviously are in favor. And is it okay if I speak to the SES?
Sure.
Okay. So there will be a Senate committee substitute, which we have discussed with Senator Hough. that there was two pieces of it, design, build, and construction management at risk. They're both simply options for political subdivisions to use. And so they have the same expiration date currently, and so the SCS will cover both. Does that make sense? Did I clarify that? Okay. So they're, like I said, all the parameters are staying the same for the political subdivisions. There was a lot of discussion 8 or 9 years ago, and you'll hear that it's, I think most of the interested parties will tell you it's working, and so we want to keep it going.
Any questions of the witness? Thank you very much. Next up. Are we done?
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, we might as well get on deck.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Committee. My name is Laura Holloway, Deputy Director with the Missouri Municipal League, and we're here to speak in support of this bill. It works well for communities. We believe it enhances communication, it helps streamline projects, and we support the removal of the sunset. I'm happy to help with any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Fred Dreiling today representing Burns McDonnell Engineering and the Builders Association, AGC of Kansas City, and we too would like to go on record in support of the legislation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Again, any questions, senators?
Yep. Good to see you.
Thank you.
This ought to be good.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Trent Watson, registered lobbyist here on behalf of American Institute of Architects, and we just want to register our support for the Senate committee substitute as discussed.
Again, any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Will Mars, on behalf of the City of Springfield, just want to go on record in support and thank our senator for bringing it forward.
Again, any questions? Thank you.
Joining the parade, Brant Shields on behalf of the Missouri School Board Association. Also want to say we like the bill.
Again, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator, and members of the committee. My name is Rebecca Eichelberger with MPUA, registered lobbyist with the Missouri Association of Municipal Utilities, and I would like to go on record in support of this bill as well. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
you.
Tell my grandkids hi when you drive by.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. James Harris, I'm a registered lobbyist for Nabholz Construction. We'd like to go on the record in support of this as well.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Hough, thank you. Mark Rhodes here on behalf of the ACEC, that's the American Council of Engineering Companies, Missouri, to go on record in support.
See you, Mark.
Any questions again? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Tricia Workman here today appearing on behalf of the Associated General Contractors of Missouri and like to go on record in support.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yep.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Colin Kincaid. I'm with the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis. We just want to go on record supporting this bill. Our member municipalities find this to be a great benefit, and thank you for your work on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you fill out? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Black and members of the committee. My name is Marcos Olarodas. I'm with the Associated Builders and Contractors Heart of America chapter. We are in support of this bill for its innovation for the construction industry and responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars and streamlining of critical infrastructure for our communities so we can build them better and faster. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions?
That's good.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in favor of the bill? Anybody opposed? Informational purposes only. Senator Hough, any closing comments?
Nope. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, committee, Senator Crawford, as you've seen on the notice, has two bills that she's going to be presenting. We'll go work through one and then work through the second one. So, Senator Crawford, I guess you get to decide whether that's numerical order or not, and begin when you're ready.
Well, let's just start with number 1. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the records, Sandy Crawford, District 28. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you this afternoon to present not only this bill, but the next one as well. Senate Bill 1 is not new legislation. For those of you that have been here any length of time, it's going to be very familiar because it's passed more than once. Keeps getting hung up with things that are unrelated to what we're looking at here today. If you'll remember, in 2023, the courts overturned a bill that included all this stuff in it and many other things. And so none of the things in this bill were problematic. So what we did is we kind of took that bill, split it into a couple of pieces. We didn't pull in every single piece that was kicked out by the courts, but we just picked out the things that I specifically had worked on myself. So this is the elected officials portion. So what you're going to see here is the elected officials piece or legislation that was contained in that bill. First of all, Senate Bill 1 allows counties, other than those with a charter form of government, to increase their coroner salary up to $14,000 greater than the compensation allowed by law if it's approved by the local the local salary commission. We've previously done this for second-class counties a few years ago, and so the other counties would like to do it as well. In addition, this bill allows coroners who fill the vacancy of sheriff to receive the sheriff's salary whenever he becomes sheriff. As you all know, if something happens with the sheriff, the coroner is actually the one that fills that slot, and so we feel like he should get that salary. Many times, coroners don't make near as much as the sheriffs, and they are required to do administrative work when they're in that position, so this would allow them to draw that salary. Also allows the Salary Commission of third-class counties to amend the base salary schedule to include assessed valuation factors in excess of $300 million, as long as the adjustments are equal for all county officials in that county. In addition, the bill allows our county collectors to conduct their delinquent sales, tax sales by electronic media, not just in person. Does not require them to do that, but it allows them to do that. The bill also allows county auditors to have the ability to audit and examine claims for a county official that has a fiduciary duty. Senator Bratton, you'll recognize that as you put that piece in this bill when we had it on the Senate floor a couple of years ago. Also, it allows the Boone County Sheriff, it excludes him from the Salary Commission of the sheriffs. The reason for that is he already made more than that schedule allowed for, so he would actually have to take a pay cut if that schedule were adhered to. And lastly, it changes the statutes concerning public administrators. It would consider a public administrator who is a guardian and a conservator to count that as 2 letters or 2 representations. It also sets up a new salary schedule for the public administrators, only again with the Salary Commission approval, and it requires all public administrators to be paid a salary rather than fee-based. I think I have many different elected officials in here behind me that can fill in the blanks for all these specific things, but with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can.
Any questions from the senators?
I have.
Senator Nicole.
Thank you, Senator, for being here. I really appreciate it. I know when you first started speaking, you said this is not a new bill, but I'm new, so I have some questions, if you don't mind. So on page 7, line 15 and 16, it says the auditor shall audit the accounts of all officers of the county annually or upon their retirement from office. And I was just curious about the retirement part.
Would you tell me that page number again?
Yes, it's page 7. It's at the top. It's line 15, 16, and 17.
Okay, that is current law already. That is not new legislation.
Okay.
So we're not changing that.
Okay. On page 9. Section 140.17.
Senator Nicole, it just goes on and on. You don't have to hold it.
So the first half of this bill's talking about salaries, and then at this section, it seems to shift to talking about land. It just seems to be a multi-subject, so just had a question about that.
The connection is this is connected to, this is dealing with all duties of county officials. So they have various duties, but the land piece, the tax piece, that's county collectors. So that is the connection piece. It's all dealing with all county officials.
Very good. And I have one more, if you don't mind.
Sure.
This is on page 20 at the very top. And it's line 21, 22, and 23?
Yes.
And it's talking about auction that would be conducted by electronic media, including the internet.
Right.
At the same time and at the discretion of the county collector.
Right. Do you want me to kind of explain that a little
Sure,
bit?
if you'd like
Okay.
to, that'd be great.
So our county collectors, if the people don't pay their taxes for 3 years, they're allowed to take that to, they're allowed to present it in a tax sale. That has to be done in person right now. And a lot of times, I mean, I've been at tax sales before. I've been at let's just say, sales at the courthouse steps. Not a lot of people show up a lot of times. So this will allow the county collectors to do that online along with in person. So potentially you wouldn't have to be there. It would potentially, open up the buyers, if you will, to maybe bring higher prices for that. So it doesn't make them do it, it just allows them to. They'll still have to do it in person, but this would allow an online option as well.
Okay. I just have a little concern. You know, I'm from Jackson County. We have such a problem with property tax there. My district's filled with a lot of senior citizens. A lot of them don't have access to
Right.
They don't have computers. They don't
Right.
have internet access.
And they can still, right now, today, they could come to the courthouse steps. That's what would happen today, and they'll still be able to do that as well.
Okay, even with this?
Yes, this is just gives them an option. It doesn't take away the in-person.
So is there any extra time maybe given to people in the district? I have a concern that once it's online, that now it's open to people all over the country, other organizations. We have a big problem in our county as well, is organizations coming up, buying up our homes, and buying even whole neighborhoods. So I'm concerned that maybe some of our citizens won't have that first option maybe, or even any option if they're being bought up here on an online auction.
This will still have to be published, and this again, it's just giving the option. A lot of times you don't have any bidders. So I think the thought is maybe this would allow some other bidders to come in.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
Any other questions from the senators to the senator? No. How many people testify in favor? Anyone testifying opposed? One. Opposed, come up. Done, and we'll start down through the favor. You have your little witness sheet, right? Or you've done it online, one of the two?
Yes, I do. Lisa Panette with Armor Vine. I have several...
Restate your name again. I
Yeah,
did.
Lisa Panette.
Lisa.
With Armor Vine. I have several concerns. This bill talks about an auditor having the ability to audit and examine claims of every kind and character. What is that? Because as we're talking about getting rid of DEI, and there really hasn't been talks of ESG like there should be, this could be a potential, if it's left wide open, for ESG, because kind and character can mean just about anything. The second one is the Boone County Sheriff exclusion from the provisions of law on this. This is a specially applied law, and that would not be constitutional to just be carving out one Boone County Sheriff. The other one is the auctioning of lands, and I pulled up the bill to make sure that I read it correctly. It actually says on page 21, whether in person or by electronic media. So they could do either one that they wanted. So it isn't true that it would just be at the steps and online. They would decide how they want to do it. But it's not a both. It isn't like she's going to come, they're going to hold it in person today, or. So, I mean, you know, there's concerns with BlackRock and those coming in to buy up our properties. Also, public administrators should not be paid on dependent upon a salary commission. Right now, that pay is determined by the cases that they handle and the assessed valuation schedule. And this shouldn't change to a salary commission. And that's the comments that I have.
Does any senator have any questions of the witness? Senator Bratton.
Just briefly, so
Yes.
on page 8, dealing with the auditor section, so a county auditor's job is the fiduciary aspect of it.
Yes.
This just expands it to where the capability of the auditor was to dive into the public administrator aspect of that. So, I mean, there's really...
You could define the kind and character, or you could even ensure by ensuring that this would not go into ESG categories, and then I would feel much more comfortable. Because I'm on board with the fiduciary. They should have fiduciary duty. But of every kind and character is way too broad and could be used.
Well, it's speaking more so into to where a public administrator's the overseer of accounts that are of the wards of the county. So it had to be expanded in the fact of that, but the county's not dealing with ESG or those sorts of things.
Not yet. I would anticipate that they would be. And again, if you put the protection in there, it shouldn't be a problem.
So you want them to have that capability?
I do not. I would say that they
So
would
you
not
wouldn't want
be
them
able
to have the capability to actually dive in to make sure that they're not?
Well, from my standpoint, that door would swing open both ways. So I would just make sure it wouldn't swing that way and say that they could not be looked at for ESG violations.
Okay. Well, I mean, as a county auditor, I know that there were limitations of me being able to actually dive into abuse and fraud, especially within the public administrator, when they're overseeing and potentially misspending an indigent individual's funds, and that was the issue at hand in Cass County. So that's.
I'm sure your intentions are good. It's not that
Well,
I think the intent. I just think,
especially with
it's always
ES
legal documents. That's what these are.
Well, that's
and
where, I mean,
that's where we have problems.
I think that's where it falls in line with electing the right person, because, I mean, if ESG is, I guess, infiltrating these county governments, I would want the person who's elected to oversee those to have the capability to I guess, dive into them. I guess, so you're right, it does swing both ways, but it all hinges on who you're electing to that position, not so much, binding the hands of the supposed watchmen.
But, I mean, if you prohibit it, nobody will be using it. So I think that's a better solution.
Thanks.
Any other questions of the witness? Yes, Senator Berger.
Can you say what your question was or comment was about the public administrator salary again, please?
Yes. Currently, it is. So the current procedure right now is that their pay is determined upon the cases that they handle and the assessed valuation schedule, and this would be giving that over to the salary commission to determine.
Are they not on the salary commission now at all?
No, right now it's determined by the cases they handle and the assessed valuation schedule. That's what the law says.
I think they're part of the salary commission, though. I'm almost certain they are.
I mean, if you can find a place in the statutes that it says so.
I think they are part of the salary commission. I think it's set up where their baseline is based on the amount of letters they handle or cases they handle, but then they're part of the salary commission also. I'm almost certain that's right.
So then are you saying that you're just taking away the amount of the cases that they would handle?
I think the cases still come into play to create the baseline, then they are part of the salary commission. I think.
I'm pretty sure that was removed, right? Is that correct? It's your bill? I'm pretty sure.
But I will look further into that too, but I think I know they're part of the salary commission.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Who's first up in favor? We can do it.
I forgot my forms.
so I'll get it filled out.
Oh.
I know, I was bad. Angie Schulte, I'm here on behalf of the Missouri County Collectors Association. Thanks Senator Crawford for refiling this bill. So I am here to talk about the online auction portion, the 140.170. Currently, those delinquent tax sales are held once a year, and so this, by allowing the collectors to do an online version, one, modernizes the process, and it allows more people to participate because it makes them so they don't have to drive all over the state trying to get different properties. And then more properties can be sold because they have more bidders on the properties. And more they're seeing an issue with security. They're having some folks come up and they're having more concerns about security, so that kind of helps with this process. And Senator, I'll have a couple of collectors here tomorrow, and we can come by and visit with you and talk about any questions you have on that process. All right, I'll set that up. And that's it. Thank you.
Any questions?
Briefly.
Senator Bratton.
So on I wasn't going to say anything, but what piques my interest, the security aspect, I guess, what do you mean by that?
They're having more people show up in person at the auctions, and they're just irate and threatening. And so those are just some issues they're starting to see at the in-person auctions.
Okay, so is it the people that are having their property taken from
yeah,
them?
mainly, yes.
Okay, but they can still do that though, correct?
They could, yeah.
Okay. So will this app, I guess my concern, will this potentially open up another layer of security potential breaches when we're opening this sort of auctioning online?
Well, I think ultimately their hope is that eventually they can go all online for those at some point in the future.
Ooh, okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. I'm Carol Johnson, Dallas County Public Administrator, and here representing the Missouri Association of Public Administrators. We are in favor of this as it was passed previous with note to the letters. We want guardianships and conservator to be 2 letters because they're 2 different jobs. And the salary issue is what was put in went away, and so there are some counties that lost their salary from going to full-time because of that change. So there's about 15 that we would like to reinstate a full-time, because that's, even though they don't have the 40 letters that's required for full-time, they're right there at that number, and so we would like to have them go to full-time. The letters. And the other part is that most all public administrators are currently salaried. We do have one that is a fee schedule, and we want to do away with that. I think that kind of covers it. Any questions?
Any questions from the senators? Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for driving up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Michael Grote, I'm a registered lobbyist appearing on behalf of Boone County, Missouri. While, as the senator said, everything in here is language that the Boone County supports, our commissioners support, our county supports, we also specifically appreciate the Boone County language being included. As she said, that's a catch-22 that caught our sheriff in, where he actually is going to have to take a pay cut based on the new fee schedule, and so this essentially tries to address that concern for him. So.
Any questions of the witness? Thank you. Next.
Chairman, honorable members of the committee, Jimmy Laughlin, Camden County Auditor, also here for the Missouri County Auditors Association. We're in support of this, as Senator Britton knows. There is an issue with without this language. We have the ability to look at any county financial account. But these are custody accounts of those public administrators, which the language in the law does not allow. And that's why we're asking for this. If there is a possible suspicion of fraud, we could not go look at it. We didn't have that right. So that is why we're asking for this. And as Senator Crawford has helped sponsor, this has been on the bill several times, and it just hasn't made it all the way through. We would appreciate your support.
Any questions of the witness? Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Trent Watson, registered lobbyist here on behalf of Missouri Association of Counties. I just want to put our support on record, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness, please. Any more witnesses in favor? Anyone informational purpose only? Senator Crawford, any closing remarks about Senate Bill 1?
I did want to make one comment. This bill specifically says on the tax sale portion, it says such auction may also be conducted by electronic media. It doesn't say that it has to be one or the other. It says it can be either. So I just want to make that clarification, and I thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. This concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 1. Now we're prepared to go to Senate Bill 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Sandy Crawford, District 28. Senate Bill 2 is another portion of that. It was House Bill 1606 that actually was thrown out by the courts. This is the piece dealing with financial documentation. We just pulled out those particular things to make the title more clear and split that out into several pieces. Senate Bill 2 does contain provisions of that bill that was kicked out in 2023. None of the provisions in this bill or the first one were the problem as far as the being nullified by the courts. So Senate Bill 2 allows second, third, and fourth class counties to file an abbreviated annual financial statement like first class counties can already do. It also prohibits publishers from charging anything other than normal costs or the normal rate for those publications. And it requires the counties to supply an electronic copy of the entire financial statement to the publisher at no cost. That way, if they look at it, they have questions, they still have information on, they still have every detail. But, just for example, I think our county, which is a third-class county, pays $4,000 or $5,000 a year to publish this particular piece. And from what I'm told by most people, the one thing that they want to know is county official salaries, and that's the main thing that they look at. And the counties are spending a lot of money just to get that information out. In addition, Senate Bill 2 allows the Department of Revenue the ability to do a one-time downward adjustment on fines for political subdivisions who failed to file an annual financial statement. This legislation has been truly agreed at least 2 other times, probably more than that. And again, it keeps getting caught up in legislation that gets kicked out, not relating to this. What we're finding is there may be a fire department or a water department, and let's say some older, I say older, I am an older person now, I think. Let's just say the secretary treasurer of that organization dies, and all the documentation from revenue is coming to that person who's no longer there. It gets sent back to revenue. Nobody knows to file the financial paperwork. They've racked up thousands and thousands of dollars of fines, and this is they're never going to collect it. So this is just a way to kind of clean the slate, so to speak. Again, nothing new. We've passed this several times. And then also, it changes the date that county financial statements must be published from March 1st to June 30th. And I think probably Jimmy may come back up here from the auditors, but this will allow them to actually give more accurate information if we put that date back, because there's still things coming in. Senator Bratton, you may be able to speak to that as well. It's my understanding it takes a while to gather all the information, and this will actually allow them to give a more true financial picture. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I think we'll have some witnesses that come up to give further information.
Any questions from the senators? Senator Nicola.
Thank you again, Senator. I have several questions here, if you don't mind. On page 4, it is number 1 and 2, section 50.815. I guess I'm just wondering why this has changed from giving them 60 days to 6 months.
I believe the auditors are going to be able to answer that. Basically, it's my understanding when this is due March the 1st, there's still information coming in that I don't know that I would say they aren't allowed to close out the books, because I'm not an auditor and I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I do know the reason for doing this is when it does get published, it's going to give a truer picture than what it would if it were due on March the 1st.
Okay, great. Just a couple lines below that, just a very simple one. It just kind of stuck out to me, and that's preparing and publishing in some newspaper or general circulation published in the county. Is there other things that these are published in, or is it just a newspaper? Because I know readership is way down, and hardly people, not very many people are reading it. Is if this is getting out sufficient enough for people to know?
That specific line we are not changing, so it's what the current law is.
Right. Okay, very good. On page 9, down at the bottom, it begins with line 29 and 30. And I was just curious why the treasurer would be removed from liability.
Let me read this. Can I get back to you on this question? I didn't make notes I didn't make all my notes specific to the bill.
Yeah.
We just picked up the language from last year. Can I get, again, this is, let's see, I'm trying to remember. Okay, auditor shall notify the county treasurer of the receipt. If the auditor cannot answer that question when he comes up here, let me get back to you on that specifically.
That's great.
I should have brushed up a little bit more on the specifics, but I knew most everybody had heard that we vetted this about, I don't know how many times, so I didn't go back through every single detail. we just used the same language.
No problem. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
I just have one more question.
Okay.
I just noticed it was probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 times that there's a gender word that's added from, it says his or her, and of course that just really stuck out to me because for thousands of years the male gender has always been inclusive to mean male and female. I was just wondering why that's added.
That whenever bills are drafted, the people that drafted are doing that now. It's not something specific that we ask for.
So that could be something that would be removed and you'd be okay with?
I don't know that that's not my issue in this bill, nor what I'm trying to deal with. So,
okay.
I don't have a strong feeling about that. If you want to remove it, I don't care. That's fine.
Thank you very much, Senator. I appreciate it.
Any further questions from the Senator? None. How many people do we have in favor, coming up to testify in favor? How many opposed? Okay, we're going to start with the favors and opposed, wait to the end. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Chris Ropey. I am here on behalf of the Missouri Association of County Clerks and Election Authorities. The Senator did a great job of explaining the first portion of the bill, which is what my client's interest is in this legislation. Be happy to answer any questions, and I'm trying to remember Senator Nicola's questions. The date change to July was just, the way I recall, this issue's been around a few years now, is to coincide with the fiscal year. It just made more sense for gathering information and then having it available at that point. And then what were your other? I'm trying to think of the other question. Oh, the language about warrants on page 9. I visited with a former county clerk back here, and she said it's antiquated language that is no longer how they do billing, and that a treasurer can protest and things. That just isn't how it functions anymore. So I think removing statutes and making them smaller is a good thing for everybody.
Thank you. Any questions of the witness?
I'd like to ask a question. So, antiquated language. So would this include any county officer then? or is that a specific title?
I think it just has to do with that the county treasurer cannot protest a warrant, which I think is a bill of who owes that money. And I think the way it works now, and if maybe somebody's here from the treasurers or might know better than I don't know. That's just my understanding of eliminating that.
Okay,
and
thank you.
The reason why.
I appreciate it.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir. You didn't remember to leave your little form,
I'm
right?
a little out
Just
of
beginning
practice, but I'm
here.
going to fill it out and turn it in.
Okay, we'll be keeping one eye on you. All right. Please, Mr. Auditor.
Chairman and members of the committee, thank you again. So I'll try to get them the best that I can in the orders that they were asked. The date changing from the first Monday in March to June 30th, there's multiple reasons. So reason number one, you have two functions that most counties operate in. They operate in cash or modified cash, which is I deposit the money, I see the money today, you write the check. I may have had the bill for 6 months, but until that check is written, it's not an expense. Accrual, I think I'm going to have $300,000 coming in March, so I'm going to book it, whether I get it or not. It all washes out. And I accrued that bill when I received it back in January, but I didn't pay for it until June, so I'm going to expense it in January. That's the two functions that we have. So that goes throughout the county. So the other thing that we have to remember is our collector's office doesn't do their settlement for that year until mid-March. So that accrual will not be right. We won't see the true income until June because they're not going to have it reconciled into the auditor's office. So we're making estimates on what that is being filed for. So that is the reason for the June 30th date. That's the main primary one. The other one is as we all know, most governments have bonds. And all of our bonds have to be reported on by June 30th on our financial reports. That's when Standard & Poor's and all those want those audits to come in. So we want that date to be at the same time that we're doing our financial disclosures. And that's the other main reason for that June 30th date. So to help hopefully clarify that for you. The other issue on that treasurer's portion is in the state auditor's office, as Senator Bratton will probably remember, when this settlement the financial report gets filed, if we don't file that timely, the state auditor's office says we can't pay anything but payroll and absolutely bare minimum to keep the doors open. So that is the other reason, and that treasurer is bound by that. So that's part of that reason that is there also. So he can probably answer that more if you guys have more questions. But that is the other reason that comes with that when this gets filed, because that's part of our going forward. Okay? So that's to the public so they can understand. In a lot of counties, like my county, to the publication, it is important. And papers are getting smaller, unfortunately. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm old school. I like to read my piece of paper. I don't look at it online. It comes to my office every day. That's just the way I am. Because I see it, I have to address it. It either sits on my desk or it doesn't. But we also do it on our website now. We have our checkbook on the website, and a lot of that kind of stuff is what you're seeing now, and counties are getting more and more that way as we evolve. But it's a costly function to get there. And I'll just give you a hint. I don't want to take up your time, but for a county to get a lot of financial softwares to get like that, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars because you've got to upgrade from something that, because when I came to the county in 17, we had a system running from the late 70s. And so I upgraded it, cost us over $300,000. But when I did it, I also got the web portal package that made it publicly available. So, but newspapers are the best way to get that out. It's recorded, it's bookmarked, there's affidavits that we disclosed it to the public.
Any questions of this witness? Thank you.
Again.
Next in favor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Richard Sheets. I'm Executive Director of the Missouri Municipal League, and we want to go on record and support Senate Bill 2, particularly the section that addresses allowing the fines for not filing a financial statement when the financial statement was not submitted due to employee fraud. And there's been several small cities where their one employee was misappropriating public funds, and when the notice came in that they did not file the report, they tossed it in the trash can. So the board never received that till finally it really came to a head. And that city, small city, racked up 100,000 plus amount of fines. So this protects those cities, and we hardly support this. It passed a couple of times. It got caught up in a veto and also in a court case. So this has been vetted for about 9 years, actually, and we wholeheartedly support it and hope that you would pass it through again. I'll take any questions if you have.
Any questions of the witness? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next in favor?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Trent Watson, registered lobbyist here on behalf of the Missouri Association of Counties. I think kind of a reminder on Senate Bill 1 and 2 that these were both passed in 2022, and then so the counties operated under this for about 18 months, and then they were thrown out by the court. So any questions anybody does have, I'm happy to make an appointment with your office and walk through the portions of the bill so everybody's very comfortable with what's going on, because it's very important for the counties to get right back to where we were operating almost 3 years ago now. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of the witness? Thank you, sir. Anyone else testifying in favor?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Mark Mawson with the Missouri Press Association, representing all the newspapers in the state. We are in support of this bill. We testified in support of this bill for several years now, and in fact, the original sponsor, we invited her to one of our board meetings to discuss how this bill might affect newspapers, and 100% behind this bill, our trade organization and our members of our board support this, and we passed it out to all of our member newspapers as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Any questions of the witness? None. Thank you, sir. Any others testifying in support?
Good afternoon, Colin Kincaid, Assistant Director, Municipal League of Metro St. Louis. Just wanted to go on record in support of this bill, particularly the provision that speaks on the one-time downward adjustment by the Director of Revenue, and I wanted to thank Senator Crawford for your continued efforts on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You do have a witness form, right, to leave? Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. Any questions? None. Thank you. Anybody else in support? Going once? Gone? Anybody in opposition?
Lisa Panett, Armor Vine. The merits of the bill seem totally fine to me. I'm just coming to talk about, which I probably will be testifying before you several times, when you as a legislative body abdicate your duty and give over to another body to write the rules and regulations, and then they're used against the people because they're able to determine what your law actually means, what the statutes mean. And then the courts have to then sometimes get involved and decide. And the Chevron case was, that precedence has been overturned where they look strictly to them. And every time that this is put in legislation, it's actually a potential cause for it to be rejected in the courts. But it also is a burden to the people that they would have to take it before the courts. And so there was many years that you didn't, as a body, abdicate your duty over to other departments. And this bill, many others, that's exactly what's happening. They're writing the rules and the regulations. So this one allows the Director of Revenue to create all the rules. And so that is the problem that we have with this bill.
I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Do you participate in Legislative Review Committee, the Joint Committee?
No.
Have you been coming in?
No.
Okay. Well, I think they need your help.
But I do know that they rarely ever meet. Like JCAR, are you talking about JCAR?
I guess. I'm hoping I'm never on it. Okay.
With the federal, and yeah.
All right. Any other questions from the senators? No. Thank you very much. Anybody for informational purposes only? Senator Crawford, any closing remarks on Senate Bill 2?
Just one quick comment about the last testimony. I don't think we can legislate every single detail of every single thing in state government, and I understand her concerns, but I also think we can't put every single thing that we need in the statute. So with that, thank you for your time. I appreciate you hearing both bills today.
Thank you very much. We have enough time for you guys to listen to my bill, whether you want to or not. So at this point, Senator Henderson's going to take over, and I'm going to find my stuff and go sit down.
You want me to end the meeting? Just adjourn at the end, or you going to come back up?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm getting paid already.
Okay, up next will be the distinguished senator, Senator Black, presenting Senate Bill 50. Senator Black, please proceed.
Okay, made it into the right folder. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to address you today. For the record, my name is Rusty Black, and I represent the 12th Senatorial District in the great northwest part of the state of Missouri. Senate Bill 50 could have a significant impact on the Davies-DeKalb Regional Jail District, as well as its potential benefits for other counties contemplating similar arrangements to alleviate the financial strain of jail funding, particularly those of comparable size of Davies and DeKalb County. Established under Chapter 221 RS-MO, the Davies-DeKalb Regional Jail District seeks your consideration for Senate Bill 50 to facilitate the completion of a crucial new jail facility. Currently, the district faces a challenge as the authority to levy its existing voter approval sales tax is set to expire in 2028. Senate Bill 50 addresses this concern by eliminating the sunset date and introducing other advantageous modifications tailored to the district needs. This proposed legislation introduces a continuous tax structure, sparing the district from burdensome requirements of periodic reauthorization by voters. Recognizing the unique nature of regional jail districts, this approach guards against the potential dissolution of the district by a single participant's vote. That'd be a county voting gone. A scenario that could undermine the district's operational integrity. Furthermore, Senate Bill 50 outlines a transparent process for new counties considering joining the district. A public vote is mandated to adopt the sales tax supporting the district, ensuring not only public endorsement, but also the financial capacity of the joining counties to contribute to the district's operation. In a bid to provide flexibility, the bill proposes an increase in the maximum sales tax rate for up to 0.5% to 1%, from 0.5 to 1, subject to voter approval. This adjustment empowers communities with the option to invest in new jail facilities or equipment without a mandatory adoption of the maximum rate. Everybody hear that part? Lastly, the bill clarifies language related to the district's ability to contract with private entities for prisoner housing. This provision is intended as a temporary measure, allowing the district flexibility in utilizing private facilities as an intermediate step before the completion of a new regional jail. Importantly, it safeguards against privatization of the district's operation or the diversion of funds to private jails within the district boundaries. In summary, the funding generated from the sales tax is earmarked for repaying debt associated with the replacement regional jail facility and supporting the operations of the Davies DeKalb Regional Jail District, a public local government entity. Last year, Senate Bill 50 was voted out of committee by a 4-0 vote, did not have any opposition. Additionally, we added Senate Bill 1353 from last year, which was voted out of Emerging Issues Committee by a 6-0 vote with no opposition. Senate Bill 1353 streamlines reimbursement process to counties for individuals sentenced to a term of imprisonment in a correctional center. Lastly, we added Senate Bill 1098, which would provide offenders with reasonable access to phone services unless such access is restricted as a disciplinary measure. Additionally, no correctional center shall charge more than 12 cents per minute for domestic phone call. This language was voted out of Judiciary and Civil Criminal Jurisprudence Committee. Boy, that's more than an old ag teacher can say. By a vote of 7-0. I'd be happy to answer any questions or at least give you my thoughts.
Questions from the committee for Senator Black?
So is the jail, if built by taxpayers, I mean, is it considering trying to house federal inmates, or is that like the kind of a potential end game to get into that business?
Senator Bratton, I've went to at least a year and a half, 2 years with people associated with this. I don't remember them discussing any federal prisoners. There are federal prisoners kept in Caldwell County. I believe that's a private jail in Caldwell County, which is south of this one. I don't remember these guys talking about trying to get into the federal business. They do house for, of course, other counties. For sure all of them, I think, in my district, they may get some prisoners out of Iowa once in a while because this jail's on I-35. But if I'm lying to you, it's because I forgot. I don't remember any discussion about federal prisoners.
Well, I've slept too many nights since being at the county, but I know there's some stipulations as to, I can't remember if it's grant money that, I don't know if they're trying to get that. If they receive these sorts of things, then they're not capable or eligible to house. So I didn't know. I'm just wondering.
This jail facility was built, the jail facility we're talking about within these 2 counties, and I think that the regional jail concept is going to get larger as these things get more and more expensive to build. I know you've probably visited some of those. This was a private jail, went defunct. 2 counties went together and made this jail district authorized by statute that I referenced, and the facility wasn't built very well. Hopefully you weren't a contractor on it, because it was pretty bad. And it's in a position that it's unsafe for staff, not to the point where it needs closed down, but there are enough staff problems, people that are being served, inmates in the jail, that they need to do something with the facility.
Okay.
To make it safer.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Nicola.
Thank you, Senator. A couple of weeks ago during swearing in, you walked me down the aisle and you leaned in and said something to me. Do you remember what you said? You don't have to say what you said. But I'm just going to...
I said you have one last chance to get out of this church. To run down the aisle.
You said I apologize in advance, so I'm going to return the favor for you today. I just have a dozen questions for you. No, I'm just serious. Just a couple. There's a tax increase in here from 0.5% to 1%.
Yes.
But there's also a removal of the court. So there's an increase.
A removal of what?
Of the court using the funds for court. That's on page 7, line that's underneath heading 4 and 5. So my question is an increase in tax, but then there's less that tax is going to be used for, the removal of court. Am I reading that right?
Remember how fast I talk? That's how fast my brain moves. So let's go back to what page number and what line?
It's page 7, and it is line 90, and then again in 95. It says "and court is removed." So it was in the bill, or the law.
The court services at this point, that I believe I know what I'm talking about. You heard that part, right?
I did.
Is moving prisoners from, or the inmates, from the jail facility to court to appear, et cetera, back and forth. The other thing that goes on here with court, at one time, they did provide some of the court electronically, through WebEx, et cetera. So the other day I was with the sheriff, and they were discussing, our sheriff in Livingston County had to send staff, 2 staff members, get somebody, and they weren't in court for 30 seconds, and they drove. So I need to check and make sure, but I think that's it. And when I'm stating this, I think the counties have taken over a pretty big responsibility on moving inmates back and forth to court if the judge requests in person.
Okay.
Okay? I think those fees have been paid by whatever county has that person incarcerated.
Okay.
If I find out I'm wrong, I'll let you know.
Okay, I appreciate that. Just one last question, page 9, line, let's see, 149 and 150, there's a removal of the sunset. I was just wanted to ask you simple, what's the purpose?
Yeah, the provisions inside this bill will sunset in 2028. So if this jail district is able to continue to function, that sunset needs to be removed. The sunset was put in there, of course, with the idea, like a lot of sunsets that we do. Matter of fact, I've got one that I've got to get rid of here in 2 years, with the idea, will this work or not work? Yeah. So it is getting rid of this, and I think before long you're going to come in my office, see 19 county courthouses. And of those 19 counties, there's maybe 3 or 4 that really have the taxing base to be able to have a modern jail, and the rest of them are going to have to go to a system like this if they're going to try to keep the people that they're in charge of relatively close, within 60, 80 miles of where the court is.
Right. Thank you very much, Senator. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, how many are be testifying in support? Okay, how many against? Then we're going to go with support. First person to testify in support, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. James Harris, I'm a registered lobbyist representing L.J. Hart and Company. We're kind of a leading provider of underwriting services, and one of our clients is the Davies DeKalb Regional Jail. We appreciate the Senator bringing this. It's similar to SB900 from last year, as he mentioned, and this would just allow us getting rid of that sunset, making it a little easier if other counties want to opt in. As the Senator said, we think it's kind of the future, maybe for rural counties. A jail in a county can be $20, $30 million nowadays. And this is a way to more economically for counties to maybe go in together and have less of a tax burden, if you will, on their local constituents. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Senator Berger.
Thank you. Do we have any regional jails actually operating right now?
Just the one up in the Senator's district right now.
And that is in these 2 counties? Yes. So how many inmates do they house? Do you know that?
I think around 120.
Does it seem to be working?
Yes, it's been there for quite a period of time. The facilities are they weren't built even close to the standards you would expect. It's a metal building.
Okay, do they have to go out for the tax however many years to support it? How does that work?
Repeat that?
It's Davies and DeKalb counties?
Yes.
Do they go?
Their county, they passed a sales tax.
So it
supports the jail facility only.
And it's perpetual?
Yes.
Okay. They don't have, it's not sunset, they don't have to renew the tax issue?
I don't
No.
believe so.
No, not this half-cent sales tax, and this would get rid of that sunset if other districts wanted to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Other people to testify in support, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Trent Watson, again here on behalf of the Missouri Association of Counties, want to register our support for the bill, specifically on streamlining the jail prisoner per diem issue. The Department of Corrections spent a lot of money to create an online system for counties to partake in. The way the system currently goes, you have to get so many people to sign off on the system. It made it a little burdensome to use the system that Department of Corrections had put together. So we're streamlining it so counties can get put in for their reimbursement quicker and actually get paid from the state faster. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else to testify in support?
Chair, members of the committee, Jessica Petrie here on behalf of St. Louis County. We want to echo a lot of the same points. We also are in support specifically of the jail reimbursement section. It's going to streamline the process, remove some administrative barriers, and make things easier on the county. So we appreciate your consideration.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Thank you. Next person.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Fred Drowning today representing Jackson County Legislature. We too would like to go on record in support for the streamlining portion of the bill. Senator, back in the old days, they used to be in arrears to reimbursing counties. So, you know, when you bank on getting that money from the state, they'd be behind, you know, millions of dollars to Jackson County. They haven't been that way in the past, but this is to ensure that that never happens in the future, and that's why we're in support of the bill. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Next person to testify in support.
Senator, how are you? Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jeremy Lefevre, and I'm here today on behalf of Empower Missouri. And one of the things that organization works on is reducing recidivism and reducing crime in our state. And one of the provisions in this legislation that helps reduce recidivism is related to phone calls. We're in favor of many parts of the bill, but we wanted to bring particular attention to that and say that we support that, and we look forward to working with the committee.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Anybody else to testify in support?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Will Mars on behalf of Greene County specifically want to testify in support of that reimbursement portion of the bill. So thank you to the senator for bringing it forward.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Anybody else to testify in support? Seeing none. Anybody in opposition? Seeing none. Anybody for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator Black, you're recognized for any closing statements.
Thank you. I think my homework's make sure that I spoke correctly about the Ann Courts piece. And beyond that, thank everybody for listening to the bill. And part of us have voted for it or against it, mostly for it last year. Thank you.
Okay, this will conclude the committee on standing committee on local government elections and pensions, and we are adjourned.